There will come a day when you open your mouth to explain yourself, and nothing comes out, not because you forgot what to say, but because you finally realize you don't owe anyone an explanation. And in that moment, something strange happens. The silence doesn't feel empty. It feels like power. Most people live their entire lives believing one quiet lie. If I just explain myself well enough, they'll understand me. So you try. You justify your decisions. You soften your truth. You replay conversations in your head long after they've ended. You become careful, measured, edited. A version of yourself designed to be accepted. A version that fits. A version that doesn't make people uncomfortable. And slowly, without even noticing, you disappear inside that version. At first, it doesn't hurt. It's subtle. A moment where you're talked over and you let it slide. A time your no gets ignored, and you say yes anyway. A room where your presence feels optional, but you stay. You tell yourself it's nothing. It's not worth the tension. It's not that serious. But it keeps happening, again and again and again, until one day, in the middle of something ordinary, you feel it. That quiet, heavy realization. People aren't treating you the way you deserve. They're treating you the way you've allowed. And it doesn't shatter you. It settles into you, slowly, uncomfortably, like truth always does. You don't lose respect all at once. You lose it in pieces. In every moment you silence yourself to keep the peace. In every time you explain your boundaries to someone determined to ignore them. In every place you stay long after you've outgrown it. You teach people something, not with your words, but with what you tolerate. And over time, your silence changes. It stops being strength and starts becoming permission. But changing that, that's where everything inside you resists. Because now you're faced with something deeper than discomfort. You're faced with fear. If you stop explaining, if you stop overgiving, if you stop shrinking, will people still choose you? So you hesitate. You rewrite the message. You soften your tone. You give one more chance. Because part of you still believes, if you just try a little harder, they'll finally understand. But they don't. And something inside you begins to grow tired. Not angry, not loud, just tired. And one day, that quiet exhaustion becomes clarity. You stop mid-explanation. You pause, you breathe. And instead of asking, how do I make them understand me? You ask something else, something sharper, something honest. Why am I trying so hard to be understood by people who never listen? And just like that, something shifts. You begin to change. Not dramatically, quietly. You start saying less, not because you're afraid, but because you're done over-explaining your existence. You start choosing yourself, and it doesn't feel empowering at first. It feels lonely. People notice, but not in the way you hoped. They call you distant. They say you've changed. They question your silence. And maybe, for a moment, you question it too. Because you're not just losing people. You're losing the version of yourself that kept them. The version that said yes too quickly. The version that stayed too long. The version that explained even when no one cared to understand. And letting that version go, it hurts. But in that loneliness, something begins to rebuild. Something stronger. You start to see clearly. No one was responsible for teaching people how to treat you, except you. And that realization, it doesn't trap you. It frees you. Because if you allowed it once, you can change it now. Not through arguments, not through long explanations, but through quiet decisions. Through what you accept, what you walk away from, what you no longer respond to. And slowly, your life begins to feel different. You speak less, but your words carry weight. You say no, and you don't explain why. You leave without needing to be understood. And something strange happens. The same people who ignored your voice start noticing your silence. The same people who overlooked your presence start feeling your absence. But by then, you're no longer doing it for them. You've changed. You're no longer trying to be seen. You've become someone who sees themselves. And that changes everything. Because your worth was never something you needed to prove. Only something you needed to stop negotiating. And one day, you'll find yourself in a moment where the old you would have explained, defended, justified, and you won't. You'll sit there, calm, grounded, certain. And someone might ask, why aren't you saying anything? And for the first time in your life, you'll understand the answer. Not everything deserves your voice. Some things only deserve your silence. Because your life is already speaking, and now it finally says exactly what you mean.